Welcome, everyone. I'm excited to have you today to join and learn about Tackle Your Taxes. I have been wanting to do this webinar for a really long time to help educate business owners, entrepreneurs, coaches, consultants about this topic, about how important it is. Um, the goal of this is really at the end of the day, we want to keep our hard earned profits and pay the least amount of tax as possible. And with that, you want to learn some strategies to save money and scale your business. And why not do it without working harder? Unfortunately, the typical business owner does it with feeling that they have to work harder, not smarter and with intention. So in this webinar, I'm going to show you how you can take your business to the highest level. By the end of our time together, you're going to learn the difference of tax preparation and some key components and also tax planning. Now, I want you to stay with me till the end because there's a special type of call that I'm offering, and I would love for you to take advantage of this so that you can see the benefit of this webinar. Now, you took the time to come, whether you're live or replay. So take a moment, turn off all distractions, put away anything that you're multitasking with, and come be present with me today so that I can teach you all the different tips and tricks that I do with my one-on-one clients, along with my team, that I can share this with you. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about why you should listen to me and why this webinar is important. Now, the typical bio is, hey, I'm doing this for 17 years and I won these awards and why I started my business. I'm going to do a little bit of a different intro of why this topic is important to help connect with you and share the importance. When I started my business over 10 years ago, when my son was small, I felt overwhelmed with the process myself. And I was starting out, my kid was a baby. And even though I was doing it for clients and this was my field, I was feeling overwhelmed. I was feeling like this was like just too much. And I was even more overwhelmed when I realized how much taxes I was paying at the end of the year for where I was then. And I was like, something had to be different. And that's where I evolved in my career to learn more about the taxes and tax planning because I felt that there has to be a better way to save on taxes. And when I did these strategies for myself in the first year, I was able to see a 25% savings, which was to the tune of around 15,000, and it only got better throughout the years. So with this process that I mastered for myself, I'm showing you, I can't show you everything, but I'm showing you a lot of the important parts of this so that you can take advantage of this and then you can see what myself and my team do for our clients so that you can save the money and see, even with spending on accounting or bookkeeping services, that the money pays for itself and it gives it back to you. And what happens is in the first year, you may feel the expense, but it really starts to pay you back really quickly. So right now you're confused and you just don't know the importance of both. There's preparation, there's planning for taxes independently, but it's kind of like you just do it haphazardly and you really don't know what the importance is. Or you're doing it because somebody told you, or maybe like at Starbucks, you pulled like a nugget of knowledge and you were like, hey, I'm going to take that on. I'm going to take that on because it makes sense. But you really don't know for yourself what is the need or what's the importance of where this is going. You may feel fear. I had a coaching client of mine last week. He used the word vicious. And there was another word that he used that I can't remember this moment, but it was clear how fearful he was of the process. And that's where the coaching came in, which really helped him for where he was. But he felt really fearful. And many business owners do because it's the fear of the unknown and really what you're in for. Now, there's a ton of anxiety that goes with it too, because you're worried. You're like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Am I choosing the right person? Does that person know what they're doing? Is it the best decision for me? You may feel angry. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a CFO client and Around money, he was always angry because his expenses just, it was clear his expenses exceeded his income. So when it came to paying bills, it just brought out the worst in him. Or like if there wasn't enough money to go around because he wasn't paying attention to cash flow and some key components, anger came out. But there was true trauma behind the finances that he just wasn't getting anywhere, and it was just going in circles and circles. And you may feel this too throughout the process in different parts. And it's really common for business owners that, as they evolve, they grow, or sometimes the business goes down and they don't grow. I have clients sometimes that they stay the same, and the way they grow is by implementing our systems and strategies, and they're making more money that way because they realize they don't have to work as hard. So my goal for you today is in this webinar is to go from fear to confidence, to take you from anxiety to feeling relaxed, and to take you from anger to peace. Now, you're listening to this and you're kind of like, how is that possible, Margot? I've been feeling fearful for years about this. I have a ton of anxiety in different areas of my life. How are you going to solve these problems? Now, I could tell you, when you, at the end of this webinar, if you really take this in, you're going to see how you're going to be able to relax your anxiety with steps to get to that process so that you can feel empowered in this process and save money and taxes, and at least know what you're doing and to be aware. So the average person starts their year or at some point in the year and they're like, I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to write a best-selling book and be a best Amazon seller, or whatever they're up to now. Or maybe it's a best author. Now, these things to change, it's external. It's not internal. It's things that are outside you that are not in control. You have no control if you're going to be the best-selling author. You're writing the book. You could get the best person to help you publish the book. Yes, you can do your part to lose pounds, but 20 pounds, but to a degree, certain things are not in our control when we might regress in the process. So just like we want to set these types of goals, it's easier to change your actions sometimes to get to those goals than necessarily change your goals. So let me say that one more time. We want to change our actions and still have those same goals so that we can get there and feel empowered. So where are we going with this? We're going to start and learn about tax preparation. Then we're going to learn some strategies. Then we're going to move to planning. And then we're going to go back to some strategies, and then we're going to learn the difference between the two. And at the end, we're going to learn how you can work with me, and you can have some Q&A at the end of your questions. And even if you're watching the replay, if you have some questions, feel free to share it to us. If you're live, I would be so grateful to hear and to be able to help you. So let's jump in and begin with the tax preparation. I hope you're ready, and let's dive in. So the first step is to do something different than what you're doing. Now, if you're still doing the same thing to get to the destination, nothing is going to change. It's being open-minded to doing something different so that you can get different results. Now, this really begins in January when you gather all your documents to file your income taxes. Now, there's different parts throughout the year that we do this, and we're going to talk about this in the strategy section. But the major part of the preparation is gathering your documents so that you can file your taxes. We're going to begin by collecting papers and the information needing to file taxes. So collecting papers can look like year-end filings of payroll. It could be year-end filings of your 1099 or people that gave you 1099s. It can be bank statements, credit card statements, all sorts of things that support your business on what money that you made and expenses that you had. Now, depending on where you live and the state and all those types of things, you're going to have different things that you're going to need to calculate, and they're usually available the first quarter of the year. So what happens is sometimes if you're behind, which is really common in businesses these days, to be behind on taxes and be behind in their record keeping, you can use previous year's numbers as a guide, but not necessarily as a end all and be all, but you can use it as a beginning to help you move forward. So let's talk about some strategies that you can do in your preparation phase. Now, again, why is this important? You're gathering the information throughout the year and as the information occurs so that it supports what you did. So you're able to record proper income, proper expenses, and really know that you're paying the correct taxes. Maybe at the end you won't pay less taxes. Maybe at the end you'll pay more taxes, but at least you know you're paying correctly for what you're doing. So your key is really to know that you have to do this. It's really not a choice. You can outsource it, you can give it to somebody else, but to a degree, you're responsible for that gathering yourself as a business owner because it's your business. What we do for our clients is they share logins sometimes with secure access so that we can get the information, but majority of it is a team effort because it's your business and and at the end of the day, we're just hired help. So there's two key pillars to success in this process that I want to talk about. So Oprah Winfrey, she had this saying that I just thought was really cool. Real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not. So I had a client who emailed me the other day and he's like, because he's in the process of moving over more of his entities. And he's like, my previous bookkeeper was away. She did this wrong. She did that wrong. That's why I'm late and all of these sorts of things. So it's like behind the scenes, you could think that you're doing the right thing, and nobody's going to know. But the real integrity is when we just do the right thing and it becomes really, really visible. So the two key strategies that I want to talk about today is planning for major expenses and reviewing accounts receivable. I choose these two items because it is so common that our business owners do not record their expenses, especially the major ones. We find it far too common where they're doing this in the personal bank account. They're not doing this in the business bank account. And it requires a lot more accounting than necessary. And also what happens is you're losing the deduction. Not only are you losing the deduction, you're losing the ability of your reports to be correct. You're losing the ability that you're able to see what you're really spending and really manage the profit, which unfortunately too many business owners do struggle with knowing their profit. And one of the key components is planning for major expenses, because when you don't plan for them, it just becomes harder and harder. Now, reviewing accounts receivable is the other part of this. And when you review accounts receivable, you're knowing how much you make. When you know actually how much you make, planning for major expenses, actually documenting the expenses, all of those things become a lot easier. Let's say, for instance, you get paid twice a month. You know when the money comes in, that you know when you can pay your vendors, you can pay your bills, you can take salaries, and all of those sorts of things. If you don't know how much money you're making to begin with, the gross income of your business before expenses, everything becomes harder and harder. And what happens is that you don't know if you're growing. You just become like one of these typical business owners who just do income and they just have income and they just keep working in circles and they don't know what they're doing. But these two key components to be systematic about for planning for major expenses and reviewing accounts receivable is just so key. Now let's move to the planning. Most people don't plan. They just go into the tax process of filing the tax return and they just jump in. It's like almost going to the pool. And it's kind of like, should I warm up? Is it cold? Is it hot? What weather it is? But planning is a way to go into the process and know what's going on and be able to keep key factors in mind. Like you plan for your life, we got to plan for taxes too. Most people don't. And this is where I want to share the importance of planning for taxes so that When you take a salary as a business owner, when you take a salary as an independent contractor, all of these different scenarios that are happening to you, you're really in the know. I mean, I just looked at my finances for last month, and there were certain things I saw I didn't need to do anymore. And I realized there's more money that I could make, or it left room for doing different things for growth for the business if I so choose to. You get to have those key parts in the palm of your own hands. If it helps you, do monitor throughout the year, which is a key component. Leaving it for the end of the year becomes harder, but really monitoring it throughout the year and keeping yourself onto that process and making like a date with yourself. To do that, it helps in so many ways. Hiring an expert just makes it even easier because they move you forward in the moving parts that need to be prioritized. I'll tell you, when I was starting the high level of preparation and planning myself, I had somebody else who did this. I had them really guide me so to make sure that I was moving forward and I wasn't slacking. And every so often I check with him as well. He is a mentor of mine, to make sure that I'm up in the know with this process, and he's sharing it to my clients as well. So the exact tax planning process, it addresses things like expenses. Could you expense more? Can you take more? Do you need to take less? Are you taking too much? Are there areas that you're not taking at all? There's various retirement plans, and there's investments to determine how that might affect, your long-term income tax bracket. Now, I have a client right now who I did a tax plan for, and after I delivered it, she let me know 2 key factors that's going to change the whole tax plan. She's selling a house and they want to close an entity that they just decided. So it changed the whole plan and strategy that I had for them. So different things need to be tweaked. So your long-term plan of what you want to do and take into account, these are all the different things are factors in the planning. So when you move it in from the preparing into the planning, it helps you so much. So how many times do you check your finances? I mean, there's people who check it like 0, and then I have people who tell me that they check it 10, 20 times a week. I have a previous client of mine who he used to wake up in the morning at like 6 a.m. and it would just bring out so much of him. And that's when he would message me, and I would know that where he was when we were starting our day, how to respond to him. But getting out of those things are a whole separate webinar. So are you checking your finances multiple times? There's nothing wrong with it. The thing is when you're checking with it, is it efficient with how it's going for you? So let's move into some strategies that can help you with the planning process so that you can get your actions in line. If you have to choose, be the one who does things instead of the one who is seen to do things. Now, what exactly does that mean? You want to do the things. You want to have integrity behind these actions. So the first one I want to talk about, which there's many, and there's like over 65 different tax strategies out there, is an LLC versus an S Corp. I have so many clients who come to me and they just don't even have a corporation in general. I was actually talking to a potential client last night. I went to an event and she was telling me she just bought a building. She has a business under her name as well. Neither of them have entities, and she's working under her personal name. So she has an entity and she has a full-blown bridal business, and none of them have an entity. So it's a disaster. If one thing goes wrong in this person's life, your 20 years can be lost just in a blink of an eye, and you don't know. Putting yourself in an entity structure gives you that layer of protection from your personal life. So let's take my life, for example. My business is in an entity structure, which separates what my personal life has in store. So if something were to happen, I have that layer of separation from my personal life from the business. Now, if you have assets and all those sorts of things, it gets into different layers. Now, S Corp is a way for you and your business to take a salary, which would mean a W-2. So let's dissect this a little bit. Assuming you're an independent contractor, you work for yourself, and I'm going to make up this example. Your business makes $100,000 a year, and you take a $50,000 salary. Now, people use the word salary very loosely. And for the sake of this webinar, salary means employee type salary. Well, now, even if it's your own company, you can be an employee of your company. And in that sense, when you have an S Corp election, it allows you to take a salary and you're not paying double taxes, which would be taxes from the business side to the personal side on the income that you made. So that alone of choosing the right entity for your business is about a 30% savings, if not like 35, to make sure that you are in a few things. You have the right entity, you're saving taxes, and you have the layer of protection. As the name suggests, LLC offers business owner a degree of protection from their personal liability. People don't think anything's going to happen. They just think it's like on TV or on social media or one day. Like a client said that to me one time. They were like, one day. But the one day has to be when you make the decisions, because or else that one day when something happens, it can make you lose 20 years worth of work, 10 years, wherever you are in your journey. Now, making sure that you're not at risk, it's just being proactive instead of retroactive. Because when you're retroactive, all sorts of things trigger you. You end up becoming a victim of the systems. And then anything your business makes, it really just goes to pay the penalties and the faults that you did versus putting yourself in the driver's seat of your business and your finances. So subchapter S, like we talked about, it just helps you in terms of salaries. And in terms of the revenue code, there's a lot we can talk about, but you want to think about these things for your business to make sure to do it. Now, even with deciding, so today you decide, you're like, hey, Margot, I want to do a subchapter S for my company. You have to take a salary. You have to physically run the payroll every month or every week or every biweekly, whichever process that we decide for you, that's best for your company, and actually do it and document it. Now, let's go back to knowing the difference of why you're here today and learning this webinar. In life, if life were predictable, it would cease to be life and be without any flavor. So I love that part about any flavor. Unfortunately, life is not predictable. And when you work for somebody else, it's more predictable because you're getting your salary. But when we work for ourselves and we're building our company, it's not always predictable. And these are the things that are part of business foundations, and they're not really optional. So even though they're two separate parts, the preparation and the planning, they complement each other and they flow throughout the process, that you see how when one thing gets tweaked, the whole process will flow to make sure that it aligns going forward. Now, this is a client of mine. She really, when she came to us, she had no entity. She was not taking salary. She was just doing things haphazardly. She wasn't recording her expenses. She would literally be that example of the shoebox of receipts. And we really took her to a whole different level, which is really amazing, because now she's shown in like all these fancy magazines with where she took her design business. The power of numbers is so key, but also it helps you be in control of your own salary. Tax planning examines and tweaks things that are overlooked in the bare bones tax process. Now, in the preparation process. Now, the average person, the average business owner, the average entrepreneur doesn't take the time to prepare. I'll be honest with you, even though I got paid to do it for a living, I wasn't myself over 10 years ago. I wasn't doing it. I would like dread it, and put it to the side because I love doing it for other people. You got to fall in love with the process to make sure, and work with somebody who's going to complement you in that. The benefits for the long run are just, there's endless things that can happen. It can help you save for taxes. It can help you save for college, for retirement, buying assets. All of these sorts of things, when you start with the preparation and you go into the planning, there are all sorts of things that can help you. Now, obviously doing it with an expert helps you because they're just moving you forward versus you struggling into the process and figuring it out yourself. So the obvious question becomes, are you going to stay confused or are you going to follow a roadmap? Now, at this point in the webinar, you know, there was a lot of information. You might enjoy the replay again. You might be live and being like, oh gosh, this was a lot of information. I don't know if this is for me. But I ask you, you know, with what you learned today, you know, are you in control of your salary? Are you in control of your income? Are you the person who is just chasing the next funnel or the next sale because you're worried about paying the bills? Now, even if you do all of this, running after income or looking to increase sales is still okay, but doing it in an intentional way that you can put more money in your pocket is the key. So we want to invite you to our Facebook group. I have never done this before, a free Facebook group where we're going to post tips and tricks about accounting and for us to be your accounting helper, as it's called. So we want you to join. Maria will put in the link, and Maria, if you can, the link to the Facebook group so that you can join. And in there, if you have questions, different things, we're going to do our best to, you know, tag me so that I can help you. And we're going to have a schedule there to go live each week for support to help you with these questions. The other thing is that we want to invite you to our Silver Starters program, where all this preparation will keep you in line for your business. Now, it'll encompass the bookkeeping and the accounting part that we will be able to help you with. With that said, what we do in this package is we categorize the expenses for you. We do a month-end reconciliation. We make sure to do all the deposits, match against the bank statements, and we generate the financials. Now, with generating the financials, that's the key to the planning, because you know in the preparation where you are, where it helps you in that stuff for the planning by taking that time to really look at it. Now, there's things that sometimes that are not in your control and you put it to the side and all of those sorts of things, which we can talk about all of those things. But my bonus, what I'm really excited to share with you is that I'm adding in an extra call per month, which then will be, it's called a strategy savings call. So on that call, it's really going to dissect and to really manage where you are to where our goals are. I mean, the whole point of the goal is to make, the whole point of the call is to make sure that you're in line for your goals. It's helping you keep accountable. But the point of this call, where it's called the saving strategy call, is to see that we are where we are in calculations. And when you review the math, you'll see that that ends up, this pays for itself. Now, not only does it pay for itself, it puts you back into the driver's seat. Like, I have this client who I talk to, and I plan every time with her. Her name is Jill. I plan stuff that we're going to go into QuickBooks, but we end up having so much fun on our conversations. And she's like, I just love the conversation. She doesn't end up going into QuickBooks with me. So we end up having to do that stuff through email. But she loves the phone calls because that's where the savings happen. This past week, we closed on a refinance for her. She was in a program where she was paying through the nose on a line of credit, and it was really killing the business. And between taxes, that back taxes, we were helping her pay, and the loan, it just became a instrumental part of the business. So we got to tackle on the taxes, and then now we got to tackle on the loan. And it's great because we're going to see the savings come through on the business. And also behind the scenes, my team pulling their hair out, working on all these loans for her, because matching the documents and what they actually do, it just becomes like a nightmare. But this specific type of call, I just want to emphasize, is I added it into the package specifically because I really want the preparation to help you to flow. And I want you to see that the stuff, not only that it pays for itself, but it just how these key components help you to the end of the year. And, you know, let's talk about it. Why were you here? You're a business owner that you don't know your numbers, but you are ready to take it. And not only you're ready to take it on, but it's like you want to know what it means. The average business owner does not know what their numbers mean. They see it, but they don't understand it. And that's what we want for you. We want you to see the importance of your numbers and what it really means. Now, you also might be just tired of systems and you don't know certain things and you want to know. You might just be somebody who is just going around in circles and thinking you can do it yourself, but it just goes nowhere. Or you think the rainy day, or you think mom's going to help you, or a friend who might help you for free, which could work, but it usually doesn't. And this is my favorite one, is when people use payment processing systems for their accounting instead of an actual accountant or a bookkeeper or somebody that is in the know of finances. You're probably just sick of not knowing it. And you've been there where you use those payment processes systems as your accounting, and it's just not working because you can't follow your taxes that way. So many people say they already hired someone. Another one is that they don't need an accountant because they can do it themselves. But those are the people who pay more taxes. And another one is like, oh, my team's going to do it for me, or my secretary is going to do it for me, when she's answering the phones, she's filing, and all sorts of tasks that really is really part of her job. So I want to share, what the package is, which is to help you with literally your bank statements, your credit card statements, getting you a monthly reconciliation, looking at reports together, and aligning your goals with this so that you can have this system for yourself and be able to be in control of your taxes, be in control of the preparing, be in control of the planning, and see where this goes for your business. Now, you could be at a pivotal time in your business and be able to and need to make decisions. I mean, here we are now in the mid of 2021, and there's different things that are going on. Maybe you didn't meet the goals, maybe you did, and you don't know your taxes. So getting into something like this is going to help you as quickly as possible so that it's not another credit card bill or another mortgage or another line of credit waiting for you at the end of this process. So that concludes for today. I hope you enjoyed this webinar, whether you're live or your replay, and I welcome you all to share your questions, and I hope you enjoyed today's webinar. Please feel free with questions. Maria is also going to put in the link, a link to a call with me. I'm leaving that open as well. If you want to talk about anything further, so that we can get those questions aligned. But I'm also going to stay around for a few minutes or so to help with questions, so I can see how to help even more. Thank you for coming, and I really enjoyed sharing this with you today.